Everybody. I have the honor of meeting today with Karen Lorre. It's great to see you, Karen.
Hi, Jen.
Karen is an actress, a model, author of 3 books, a spiritual coach, and she's known for her dynamic career in entertainment and her transformative work in wellness and personal development. Welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining me. How you doing today?
I feel wonderful. Thank you so much, Johnny. Yeah.
Thank you. I get so much your posts on Twitter I see have so much positivity, and it's just like you're just trying to radiate this kind of affirmations to everyone, and kind of a light for a lot of people, I can tell. Can you share about that a little bit?
I'm not trying to be a light. I just have an overflow of love that feels like it just wants to express itself. So I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just expressing what feels true in that moment, you know? But I do think people really feel it, and it makes people feel good. And it's because I'm coming from it, from feeling good. We resonate, whatever we're doing, we're resonating, and people pick up our energy. And so I could write about, my shopping list, and I think people would feel good just because I feel so good consistently, if that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah, there's certain speakers I'm like, man, they could read the phone book, and I could really appreciate it. So, and then what comes to mind is that, the placebo effect is real, faith is real, right? So you set that intention, and things follow from there. You brought up, the mind body connection we were talking about, and how that correlates. That's really powerful, and that's something you studied and wrote about a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, I studied it I was actually studying it in high school, and then I went to college and studied it. They didn't have as much information as they do now, but it started it was so irritating when I was a kid, but it was really served me. Every time I got, sick, my mom would say, "Did something happen at school? Did your feelings get hurt? Did you have a big test?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I got a test on this." And then she'd say, "Okay." And then she'd say, "How are you feeling?" And I always felt better after I or yeah, somebody hurt my feelings, and then I always felt better, after I told her, and she then make me go to school, which is frustrating at the time, when you're in third or fourth grade and you just wanted to stay home and have a day outside and play. But what I really saw is I don't think she consciously knew about the mind body connection, but she knew enough that she was inspiring me to look into it deeper. And I just got really, really fascinated with how the mind affects the body and how the body affects the mind, and it's both.
What comes to mind is Steve Jobs. He got so much done, and yeah, people talked about him like he had this kind of magical thinking. Just kind of pushing for things to happen that maybe weren't even possible, but yeah, made miracles happen. So
Oh yeah. There's so many miracles that happen. I think every moment has miracles in it if you're paying attention.
so we talk about setting intention, and I was at a yoga practice recently, and I like the way they said it is, you're doing this with your intention, like, you're putting your energy towards this goal, and I thought that was really powerful because it's like when we're actually taking action and moving the body, then it's you talk about manifestation, staying focused on an ideal, and yeah, it was just we got so many challenges, but staying focused and not getting so distracted is so important. So I think that this is really great that you focus on this so much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really great quote. I found for me that I get into the feeling of what I want, and then my actions come from that feeling. So it's a really fun way to go through life. So every action for me is easy because the feeling is the magic carpet that I get to rest on, that carries me to take the next action or to take the next step or to have the next idea or whatever it is, or to be in the right place at the right time with the right people in the right way. So I don't have to really, it's really, life has gotten super simple and my mind has gotten super, uh, it's not empty, but it's tranquil and it's receiving, so it's a different way than I ever thought was possible to live.
I like that. I just saw a post from Scott Adams yesterday talking about, kind of overcoming procrastination and how, sometimes, the tasks that we have to do, we're focused on them. But if we were focused on the rewards, on the outcome, on the reason we're doing it, then that's where, it can all flow from, like you're saying, dopamine and everything to have that energy to yeah, to inspire us to make it happen.
Mhm. Yeah, I use what I call blissipline, and it makes me super productive, but I'm not productive trying to do something. I just get kind of guided, but blissipline is the practice of, looking at something and thinking about how much I love it and enjoy it. So naturally, I like to work out. So this is kind of how I realized it. Because for working out, I think I love to work out. I love to be strong. I love to be healthy. I love to be fit. I love to have the energy, the good feeling that comes from working out. I love how good it is for my brain. I love how good it is for my every part of my body. I love having strong muscles. I love being able to open jars. Um, I love being able to do things that I want to do. I love being able to play outside. I love having good stamina and good endurance. So I normally think like that about working out. That was just normal. And then I thought, well, what if I apply that to other things, right? So, like, I was never a person who really liked to cook. I like to eat, but I never really liked to cook. And so then I started to think about it. I love cooking. I love making really great innovative recipes. I love eating food that's healthy. I love cooking food that tastes really good but is really healthy, nourishes my body, nourishes the body of the people I feed. I love making food that people really enjoy, that I really enjoy. I love eating food and making food that is colorful and is beautiful and is healthy. So I just started thinking about it, and then I became a really good cook. Like, people come over and I cook for them and I'm like, I'm just doing my thing, and they're saying things like, "Oh my God, this is the best I've ever had of whatever the thing is I've made." And I'm like, "Wow, that's so cool," because I just literally created that feeling, and then my actions came about. Does that
I
make
love
sense?
that. That's powerful. That's really that's a whole paradigm shift, isn't it? Especially for our culture, which is kind of maybe more kind of oriented and not kind of so many. I think people are kind of off their center. So yeah, I wanted to ask when did you kind of find out about the mind body connection and blissipline? When did you come up with that? I love that line. That's I got to remember that.
Well, the whole mind body connection, like I said, it was starting when I was younger, and then when I was in college, it was fascinating what they were putting together. But then I became an actress. And that's when I really saw it, because as an actor, you embody a different character, every time you're playing something, right? So I would embody a character and I would watch how my physiology shifted. If I was playing a victim, I would, not just my physiology, but my life would get victimized. And if I was playing, somebody who was, a Russian spy, I would have all this energy because I was kickboxing in the thing and I was, doing all this, whatever I had, whatever. It was just funny. And so, whatever I was playing, I noticed things shift. And one time in particular was so obvious. I had played pregnant. I was on a soap opera, One Life to Live. I played Tina, and I was pregnant on the show wearing a leotard with a pillow, and I didn't take it off because it was New York. It was too many layers of clothes you had on, to do it. So I'd go out to lunch and I'd be pregnant, fake pregnant. And people would say things, and at first I would say, no, I'm just an actress, you know. So, and then they'd be horrified. But so I just stopped saying that, and I would just say, you know, yeah, yeah, thank you, you know. And when they say, oh, you're pregnant, thank you, yes, you know. And then they'd say, is it a boy or girl? And I'm thinking, well, the writers haven't told me yet. And yeah, and I'm just saying, I don't know yet, you know. But what happened is I was playing pregnant on the show, and then, you know, lunchtime I was out being pregnant in the world, you know, in that sense. And the wardrobe girl came in and brought in my dress and the bra I wore with the dress, and we put the bra on, and I overflowed it. I'm a normally a C cup. I became a D cup because my breasts were getting ready to feed this baby. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my God, my body believes I'm pregnant." And she came back, brought a different bra, and all was well. I had the baby on the show, and my breast went back to a C. But but it was just fascinating, you know, that whole, like, acting is the perfect petri dish for mind body science.
Wow, that's powerful, isn't it? That's unbelievable. They were horrified you weren't pregnant.
Well, I
I
mean, they were
couldn't believe it.
like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Excuse me. "What are you doing wearing, you know, a why are you faking being pregnant?" And, you know, it's just too hard to say, you know, "I had rehearsal right before this, and I have the taping right after lunch, and I didn't have time to change. I wouldn't have time to eat. I just needed to do it like, that's too much, you know?" So I just didn't, you know, I was just like, "Okay." Just let them think whatever they think.
So that's man, that's a really powerful example. Yeah, and you know, you talk about being a victim, playing a victim, a character who's a victim, and seeing that play out in your life. You know, it's how important are so many of these patterns of thoughts that people have, or even you know, can be also, you know, music or shows they're watching that are really kind of getting them to think a certain way. So yeah, we got to be mindful about what we put our mind on, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really wise awareness that you have, Johnny. Yeah, I stopped watching TV when I was 14, pretty much. I mean, you know, I see it every once in a while, but I don't have a TV. And I stopped because the word TV program, I remember thinking, program? I don't want to be programmed. I want to program myself. I don't want to be programmed. So I kind of got out of it. Like, I don't watch the news. I don't do a lot of the stuff that people do. The last time I watched the news, um, was 9/11, and I watched how they showed that video over and over and over again, and it was terrible, you know. It was like it was a trauma that they were creating with that same replay. And I thought, you know, I just don't want to do this. I just don't want to do this. And and so I just stopped. That was because I lived with somebody who had I was married to somebody who had a lot of TVs, so that's why I had seen that. But for the most part, I'm not really a person who wants to watch TV. I'll go to movies, I'll do that stuff, but I try to watch things that feel good, you know, like I love a lot of I love The Incredibles, the cartoon movies. I love those. So I see those a lot, you know. And you know, the Despicable Me, all those are fun things. So I like kind of having that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. There's different movies, there's different books people read. I used to read a lot of books that were about all sorts of things that were really dark. I was a dark kid, and I, you know, I felt that darkness. It made me interested in things that were dark, and I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm really aware of what I watch, but I'm also aware that, you know, now I don't have to, but part of the reason I got out of acting originally was because I didn't want to keep playing pretty much every character's in a low place, you know, so some way that pretty much every character has something, you know, some conflict going on, right? Otherwise there's no need for the story. But now I kind of finally understand how to watch a movie and not get triggered by it, how to play a character and not let it impact me in a negative way, how to, you know, just be in the world and not let the world affect me in a negative way. So I've really had to learn how to do that. It really has been helpful, you know, super helpful.
That's awesome. What comes to mind is how can people, do you have like a morning routine, or do you have a way to kind of bring yourself back when you feel like, you're off, to center yourself back on the thoughts that are going to manifest the right outcome?
This is gonna sound goofy, but years ago, I don't have that issue anymore where I get off track too much. I mean, every once in a while, but once a month, once every 2 months, once every 6 months, not very much. But I used to have it. And so one of the things that happened was I was on the phone with my phone company, and they were charging me like some outrageous thing to call. I had been in Europe and called, I don't know, my mom or somebody, and they were charging me like $300 for a 20-minute phone call. And I remember I was like, that doesn't make any sense. This is this it doesn't make any sense. And I was kind to the person on the phone, but they were still going to charge me. So I got off the phone, and I cussed. I said, "Baba, you AT&T," and then and then I heard this voice, and I was laughing, and I was like, What's so funny?" And I felt like it was my spirit, and my spirit said, "You're so cute." And I said, "What do you mean I'm cute? Like, you're so adorable. You're so mad at AT&T, and while you're being mad, you're shutting off everything that you want. You're blocking every single thing you want. It's really cute." And I was like, "It's cute?" And they were like, "Absolutely." And so then I said, "So everybody's cute when they have negative emotions?" And that's what I got. And so it just gave me the sense of humor. It made me realize, like, "Oh, I'm just being really cute. That's so sweet." Yeah, I was off. Cute, like, it's not a judgment. It's not a judgment. It's a recognition that, like, my spirit was reminding me that when I focus like that in the negative way, it's harming me in some way. It's stopping my dreams from coming true. It's hurting my health, but it was not in that kind of warning way. It was fun, and it was funny. And so that's kind of how I look at negative emotions now. They don't bother me anymore because they're cute.
I, so what comes to mind for me is, I love your sense of humor about that to begin with, but for me, I kind of got two real focuses, and they're kind of the same in a way. Is that, we should have responsible agriculture, to make our food medicine, and then the other part of that is we got to stop the bad guys. We got to stop Monsanto, who are just kind of drowning us in the likes of glyphosate. And so, it's to always have kind of the positive go with that. I try, when it gets too dark or it gets too heavy, I try to always, if I'm expressing these sentiments, I try to like put the positive spin on it, that we've always just got the challenges we face, and we always do the best we can. And that, on the micro level where we are, we can plant a tree tomorrow, right? Most of us can. And so there's so many different things we can do. And but yeah, what's let's say it's more kind of just, right now we got these liability shields that Monsanto's after, right? They're trying to take away our constitutional rights to hold them accountable for these poisons. And
Mhm.
I don't know. Can you share with me kind of your insight on that? I mean, are they cute? I don't know. Like, what's a great way to like?
Yeah, how I look at it is, okay, so there's the problem, right? Um, and Monsanto wants the liability shield, and Monsanto is putting poisons into our food and air and water. So that's a problem. But on the other hand, what I want is I want clean food and clean water. I want clean air. I want companies to be responsible for what they create. I want so I'm changing the focus. I can look at the problem, or I can look at the same subject, but looking at what do I actually want. I want regenerative farming. I want biodynamic permaculture farming. I want organic farming. I want seeds to be available to everyone, and the seeds to be all regular, coming from nature. I want um, companies to only do good for the soil and for the land. I want companies that have integrity. I want companies that have honesty. Now, like Monsanto does not have integrity, but I want companies that have integrity. So it's a matter of kind of like if you're at a buffet and you're putting stuff on your plate, and let's say you don't like uh, bacon. Who, anyway, let's say you don't like bacon.
Who
And so
wouldn't love bacon? Come
I
on
know,
now,
that's
let's
what I
be
was thinking.
realistic.
That's what I was thinking. So let's say something else. Let's say you don't like smoked gefilte fish. Okay, so
Fair
anyway,
enough.
okay, so you have your plate and you're moving along the buffet of life, right? When you get to the smoked gefilte fish, I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm just saying it. Let's say you get to that. Let's say you don't want it on your plate, but you like the zucchini that's there, or you like the ribeye that's there. So you take some of the zucchini on and you put some of the ribeye on, and then you do whatever else that you like. But you don't have to go, "You are terrible, gefilte fish. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you." You don't have to do that because it's not. It's like just there. It's not something that you have to put on your plate. You don't have to ingest it. And so the more for me, I do believe that, it's great when we can have good legislation that takes care of things. So I think that it's important to communicate to whoever's making the decisions, the EPA, the president, the HHS, all those things. And so I write, I contact them or I call them and I say, hey, please make sure that, I call my Congress people, please make sure that Monsanto and that no company has a liability shield, including the pharmaceutical companies. So I say that, but I also, in my mind and in my heart, I think about how much I love regenerative farming, how much I love people growing their own food in a healthy way, clean air, clean skies, clean soil, healthy soil with lots of erythropods and arthropods and, all the other life that's in the soil. I don't want GMO creatures, so I want the things that God made, that nature made.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. Yeah, we just want clean water. I was thinking about the tastiest meals can solve these biggest problems. The meals that we're growing locally in our communities. And whether it's food purity or freedom, it's providing all these things. And
Oh yeah.
it's just imagine that the tastiest meal you ever had. That you played a part in producing or cultivating. How good does that feel? And yeah, that's a great vision that we can have, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I love that you say that because it's so important. When we can have, if we can plant even, on a balcony, plant in a pot, something that can grow. Maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's not totally connected with the earth, but it's still great and it's still wonderful. I mean, I think that the earth is so genius, and this is why I don't believe that we need things like Monsanto and all those things because the geniusness of the earth, of plants, of soil. I mean, when you look at it, there's trees that are mother trees, and they know which ones created their acorns. There's you go in and all the plants have a microbiome on them if they're organic and regenerative or permaculture biodynamic, and that microbiome is part. You can't really wash it off. It's part of the plant, so you're increasing your microbiome in your body. Like there's so much thoughtfulness that goes into nature and goes into our bodies that it's mind blowing. And so I love tapping into that feeling because it's really it's powerful. It's a powerful way to feel like, I mean, just even looking at our bodies are amazing. Our heart is beating for us while we're asleep. Our body is digesting our food right now. If you've eaten, I haven't eaten yet, but if you have eaten, even maybe I'm still digesting yesterday's food, right? Like it's our body is, we came from one sex cell from mom, one sex cell from dad, and now we have trillions, like 50 to 75 trillion differentiated cells, not just sex cells, differentiated. So hair cells, eye cells, skin cells, like there's something magical going on. Parents don't need to know how this happens. It just happens. There's so much that just happens in nature that is amazing. A tree fell down on my neighbor's hill and they didn't clean up the tree. And so now 3 other trees are just coming up out of the branches of that tree, but they look like regular trees because now their roots have gone down into the earth below that tree. It's like it's amazing. So they've just got 3 new trees that even though they lost one. And it's just like how brilliant is nature? It's just crazy. Like there's a mycorrhizal fungi between the trees that creates this communication, this internet between the trees so that the mother tree can send nutrients and antibodies to her baby trees, and she knows which ones are her babies that came from her acorns. Like how the heck does she know that, right? Like it's just crazy how brilliant nature is. Crazy. Like we have microbiome on our hands. We don't need those hand sanitizers because they kill the microbiome. The microbiome, we have it on our face, we have it on our skin, we have it in our gut, in our sex organs, in our brain, in our mouth. Our microbiome is like genius. We're more microbiome than we are human cells. Like the genius that has gone on in terms of creating us and in creating nature, like that to me gets me high all the time. I don't need drugs. This is what makes me high as a kite. Just thinking of how thoughtful, how considerate, how brilliant and innovative and genius that which has created us and created nature is.
I love that. Well said. It reminds me of something I like to talk about is the way that the leaves of the trees and all the plants, every blade of grass, it's catching the sunlight and it's doing that photosynthesis, and it's the energy that we get out of the oxygen we breathe, it's doing that for us. It's a symbiosis we have with the plants that,
Yeah.
it's just a perfect balance that's just really incredible. And it's
Yes.
like we're breathing the light, so to speak.
Yes. 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 And the sun, every cell of our body has photoreceptors. Like that's so cool. We are receiving light. That's why it's so important to be outside, and to have as little, have as much of your body, your skin exposed when you're outside, because we are receiving light, photons from the sun, and yes, it's part of the vitamin D, but it's also just light. Like,
There's a lot to it. Yeah, no, the light is so beneficial in ways like beyond vitamin D. And
right. Yeah. Yeah, it helps with your circadian rhythms. One of the things you asked about what I do in the morning, first thing in the morning, I go outside and I hold this tree, or I have different trees I hold, but one is my go-to the most, but I touch them all. But anyway, I go and I hold the tree until I feel like the tree takes all my excess electrons and just puts me into I mean, maybe that's not the right way to say it. I'm not an engineer, but it just feels like the tree and me, we have this thing, and then I get to the place where I can't not kiss the tree. It's like I just kiss the tree, and then I go out to the other side of my house where I have a trampoline, and I just bounce outside on the trampoline as much as I can. I drink a ton of water first thing in the morning. I've brushed my teeth, and I drink a lot of. Usually, I drink like one. I've already drunk this morning. It's 11 maybe my time, but I've drunk 3 of these so far. This is my third one, so 2.5. Yeah. Cheers. And
cheers, here, here. Man, I just got an all copper water bottle.
um,
And I'm really digging that. The Egyptians, they would put the water like from the Nile even out in the sun, and I guess there's like an antibiotic effect there. So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
um,
The sun is antibiotic with everything. If you have anything that's bad, let me. I just put. Yeah, everything can go in the sun pretty much. It does fade your clothes, but sometimes it's a better color.
yeah, nature knows best. The more natural, the better. Here, here, I'm with you. And it's so funny the irony. Like these things that people use to the sunscreen, right? It's a carcinogen. They're using it to prevent cancer, but it's given cancers to people as well. So that
Yeah.
reminds me of yeah, like you said, your spirit telling you it's cute that you're you're shutting out all the goodness coming to you.
I used to wear sunscreen because I bought the bullshit. I bought the BS, and I used to wear sunscreen, and I got a melanoma. And my doctor was going to remove it the following Tuesday, and that Friday I was in the grocery store and I ran into another doctor that was dating my girlfriend, and he said, "You have a melanoma." I said, "I know." And he said, "You got to get that removed." I said, "I'm going on Tuesday." He said, "You can't wait that long." So I went home. He said, "Come to my place tomorrow and I'll remove it." I went home and he had scared me. This is before I understood things, but I still knew the mind body science, and I knew I didn't want to be scared because that's going to, make it worse, right? So I knew that much. And so I meditated all day. Like I meditated all day on the feeling of beauty, because beauty, I see it in nature, so I know it's part of who we are. So I just imagine like sunlight beauty on my face. I woke up in the morning, my face was clear. I called him and I said, "It's gone." And he said, "What do you mean it's gone?" I said, "It's not here." And he said, "What'd you do?" I said, "Nothing, just meditated." He goes, "I don't believe you. Come in anyway." So I go in there, I knock on his door and he opens it and he goes, "Jesus Christ, I've never seen anything like that before in my life." Anyway, so it was gone, and he let me watch him do a nose job, which was just a weird thing to watch. But anyway, the thing about sunscreen that's so interesting is like I wore sunscreen and my spirit said, "But the sun loves you." So I stopped. I used to wear everything, so I stopped wearing my sunglasses because the spirit loves. I mean, the sun loves my eyes. The sun loves my skin, and I just started to realize that the sun is my friend and the sun loves me, and it just I never get sunburn, I never get a problem. I also stopped eating seed oils. I think that seed oils seem to make people burn more, so that might be a part of it. And I eat a lot of saturated fat, which I think somehow helps. It just seems like I just can be outside and I don't have a problem. But I also have developed what's called a sun callus. So a sun callus is something. So I go out first thing in the morning. I'm outside many times during the day. I go outside at the end of the day. So the morning creates. It's usually before the UV is there, and it creates this ability for your body to handle the sun later in the day, and then at night it sort of repairs your skin when you're right before sunset, kind of repairs your skin if you were out in the sun a lot. So it's just like the thoughtfulness again, like like the sun loves us. The sun loves us. The sun is good. The sun is life. The sun is wonderful, and like a lot of like the Egyptians, they had Ra. I think Ra was a god of the sun. So there's so much about the sun that is genius. And it's also the sun helped me. The sun shines regardless of where it is. If it's night here, the sun is still shining, but on the other side of the world. So the sun is one of my best teachers of unconditional love.
I love that. That's so powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, just setting that intention, isn't it? Just being open to all the goodness. That's so important. And yeah, man, so much programming where they're teaching us to fear the sun, to fear all these good things, to fear the
Mm-hmm.
saturated fats. Yeah. uh, th- Wow, saturated fat is so good for us. So many studies are showing now,
So good.
and yet,
And it's tasty.
absolutely. They say the French. What's the secret? They cook each meal with like a full stick of butter.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I've been getting raw butter. I get raw milk and raw butter, and I've been getting raw butter, and I just take a tablespoon and just eat it raw. But I think my skin is so soft. Just I love it. And then it has vitamin D in the raw milk and in the raw butter, vitamin K, which you need those two together. It has probiotics. It's just vitamin E. It just has so much goodness. So yeah, I love that. I knew that as a kid though about butter, because then when they said margarine, I thought that doesn't make sense. Why would you want chemicals instead of butter? But I bought into a bunch of other things that I shouldn't have. But now I'm getting more clear.
I have you heard of this L. reuteri for the microbiome? This
Yeah,
is more and more studies are coming out about it, and I was just watching Dr. Berg's interview with the guy who wrote Supergut, and so now I'm making some yogurt and having that, and it's like it was amazing when he's saying just how critical this they show that this is for all sorts of things from babies to all of us as far as healing and aging and just everything. And um but the thing that really struck me is they said 24 out of 25 Americans, we don't have it anymore because of the likes of glyphosate. And you talk about the seed oils, a lot of those are GMOs, so they're going to have trace glyphosate. Glyphosate's an antibiotic, right? So this can just take out
yep,
our microbiome. So
yep, yeah. And I take L-Reuteri from that Dr. Makis, but I also I have to figure out the making of the yogurt, because I want to make it. I want to make the yogurt with the raw milk, um, but I don't want to cook it. I don't want to cook the goodness out of the raw milk, right? So I have to. I'm trying to find out how to do that. Do you know?
I was looking it up because I wanted to get raw milk. I wasn't able to where I am right here right now. But yeah, the I think if the raw milk is, if they were just if it's sanitary, then as I understand it, you can just do it the same way, and it's super easy. You don't have to cook it. You just put it in the. I got a yogurt maker now, and it just puts it at 100 degrees for like
That
36
keeps
hours.
it alive, yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'll do that. Yeah, because I think it's what is it, 119 that starts killing the enzymes and the other stuff, the probiotics and things. I'm not. I'd have to see what level, what temperature probiotics die at. But if it's at 100 degrees, that seems like it's good. I'll double check it though to make sure. That's excellent. Yeah, because like it's so creamy and the raw milk I has this thick thing of cream, and my body just and it has. Yeah, it's just good. My body
It's
likes.
so good. It's so good. It's a
Yeah,
superfood. It really is.
I
I think whipped cream is a superfood at this point. So yeah, I've
just
just come
especially
all the way
raw
around.
whipped cream. Yeah, raw whipped cream is really good.
Raw whipped cream.
Yeah,
Yeah, my friends get the raw cheese. All right, I
yeah.
got it. Yeah, we need a
I got
better.
I got raw Parmesan the other day. I don't. I was eating paleo for the most part, but then because I got the raw milk, I started doing the raw butter, and then anyway. So now I have the raw Parmesan, and it is great. It's really tasty, and so I don't cook with it. I just put it on after things are cooked, to get the and it's great. Like it's so interesting that I there's so much genius in nature. It's just off the
There
chart.
really is. It's unbelievable, and as this L. reuteri, actually, I guess it comes from breast milk. So this is to colonize the microbiome, but yeah, that was one of the things, is that it's like a keystone species for the gut. So this is something that really grabbed my attention because, if you imagine with these antibiotics that are going through us, they're like a nuclear weapon. It's like microbe Armageddon. And these microbes are so important for us for so many reasons. And to repopulate and try to get that diversity back, get that whole ecology, to have the one that's really good at getting in there because it's hard to restore them with different probiotics. They don't always work.
Yeah, Dr. Sabine Hazen, she's really big on bifidobacteria, and she's talked about how that's gone in almost, I think she said something like 95% of people. So it's really key to do things like the raw milk if you can get it. I think you can get things shipped from different farms if you don't have it locally. But raw milk, and other things that are probiotic, like when you get vegetables, wash them, but don't like bleach them or anything like that. And then if you don't cook them too much, the microbiome's going to be alive right on it. So if you're eating anything raw, vegetable wise, that's good. And then, yeah, there's so much. Um, don't use any alcohol; it kills the microbiome. Don't use alcohol in your skin. Don't, like there's so many things that processed food kills most of the microbiome because it's mostly GMO. All the GMO will kill your microbiome. So it's really essential to eat pure and support your microbiome. So I take the L-reuteri, I take another one with the bifida and the lactobacillus, and hopefully they're doing it. I don't have a way to check it. Sabine Hazen said she checked like 27 different things that said that they had bifidobacteria, and 3 of them did.
I saw that. I saw that. Right. She was
Exact-
checking yogurt samples. So this is where people are hoping that they're getting some
Right.
good quality stuff, right?
Yogurt and kefir, and none of them, like just only 3 out of 27. So 24 lied or just didn't know how to do it or never checked.
Right. I could imagine that maybe they had a starter that they thought was good and then at some point it wasn't anymore or something, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing about you making yogurt and you're doing it for 36 hours, that's going to really increase it because most yogurts are done for like, 10 hours, 6 hours, something like that. So you're going to really do this. I'm glad you told me. I'm going to get a yogurt maker.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
How fun is that? That's pretty easy. And yeah, thousandfold he says that there's that many more of the good stuff in there. So yeah, it's pretty special.
And yogurt's so good. I make lamb chops. I'm Greek, right? So I make this tzatziki with, oh my God, it's so freaking good. It's so savory. It's got fresh garlic that's put in there, lemon zest, a little lemon juice, a little, uh, what else is in there? Lemon juice. Oh, it's so good, but it's so oh, and fresh mint, and then a little feta cheese, mixed in with the yogurt, and you could just eat that, that's a great accompaniment with, many, many, vegetables. It's amazing on the lamb, and then it's great with, just by itself. I've just eaten it as, like, you know, yum. It's so
You're
easy.
making me, yeah, yeah, got plans to go out Sunday. Yeah, maybe we got to go to a Greek restaurant. I think sold me.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I
Karen,
just yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I have a hard time going to restaurants because I go only to restaurants that have organic, and then I don't eat grains or sugar because I haven't had sugar in 16 years and I haven't had grains in 14. So when I go to a restaurant, I found a couple organic restaurants, and then I found restaurants where they get organic stuff and you have to ask the chef which one's organic today, and so that's kind of how I do it. But it's been, I've really cut back on restaurants, but I also cook. I love how I cook. So yeah.
This is the problem, and this was so I was actually leaning towards, okay, no, 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 we should eat in Sunday. We're getting together, but you know what? Yeah, there's just nowhere we can go out, spend all this money, and it's like, and not be poisoning ourselves. So it's like, why not eat at home? And it's like, yeah, it's way too hard, isn't it? But you're right. The more we're I think that's always a great opportunity I like to do is like when people are making the good product or providing the good service at the restaurant, to frequent them and support them because
Yeah.
this is actually the reason why we don't have safer food to eat is that there's not really as much of a market for it as there should be. People don't realize how important this is.
Yeah.
It's appealing to us in the moment. Oh, this is a little cheaper and what's the difference? And it's like, well, the food's supposed to be our medicine, but not the food that they're giving us. And
Right.
so
And the only
it's
reason organics are more expensive is because our government subsidizes Monsanto and Bayer, so if they took the subsidies away, it would probably be pretty even, and maybe even more because you don't have to if you're doing regenerative, you don't need, to buy big tractors. You don't need tills. If you have cows moving and goats moving and sheep, whatever you've got, they're gonna till the soil naturally. You don't need to buy seeds. You don't need to buy the glyphosate. It makes it so much less expensive. So, and a lot of farmers that go from regular conventional farming to regenerative, they can make like $1 million selling their tractors and stuff to somebody else, and they don't need it. You can use drones that do compost tea over the thing, and it's pretty cool.
drones with compost tea. That is, I haven't seen that one yet. That's pretty cool. No,
Yeah,
but you're
yeah,
you're absolutely right. It's the glyphosate, it's attractors, but it's also because the glyphosate kills the soil. Now the plants are weaker. Now you need more insecticides and you need more fertilizer to help with the
right.
plant. So it's just a really kind of bad cycle.
Right, right, and the same thing when you were saying, we give antibiotics, and glyphosate is an antibiotic. When people have an antibiotic, it kills the microbiome for a couple years. So you have to just really work to actively promote your microbiome all the time, and then be very, very wary if somebody's trying to prescribe you an antibiotic, and really make sure that you need it, really make sure that it's the lowest strength antibiotic that would be effective for you. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So, yeah, I like I like being healthy. It
It feels good to feel good, doesn't it?
it does, for sure.
And if even if somebody kind of reasoned with themselves and they said, "Oh, it's not important," whatever. Somehow, if that's not enough, it's like, well, listen, you're gonna get a whole lot more done if you're, feeling healthy and strong. It's not just like the last few years that they're taking from us; it's our vitality, our productivity, everything that we can get out of life and achieve right now.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just crazy. People really don't understand here in our country, in the States, we're living 6 and 7 years less than other Western countries.
Yeah.
And 40 years ago, we lived just as long as them. And what's happened? we've started doing these GMOs, and it's glyphosate seems like to be the main culprit, with about a dozen health conditions going parabolic, or dozens.
Mhm.
And it's just and there's other concerns, but if you go to Europe, everything's pretty similar to here. They're pretty westernized, living the same kind of lifestyle. They have vehicles, right? They have plastics. Okay, they have a lot of the things we have, but they've banned the practice of using glyphosate for one on their crops at harvest. Here in our country, you mentioned the subsidies. So the way those subsidies work is that we're paying people for we're helping out with crop insurance is the way it really gets spent. And it's billions of dollars every year. But this crop insurance is only if you're using, these methods that are agreed on, which involve all this poison. So now these are effectively subsidized, and it kind of like brings down that risk to reward. So if you have insurance, if things go bad, like the season ends too early or you get a hailstorm, well, now you're more likely to go and grow these plants, like grow the grains where the seasons are too short. And this is part of the reason that they want to use the glyphosate at the end. They want to use it as a desiccant, kill the crop so that it dries out so they can harvest it, before the rains come. And so, yeah, it's just a really bad cycle we're in. And these antibiotics, that's how I've kind of that's the most effective thing I can do for myself. I wish I could say I've gone 14 years without eating some of these products, but to make myself kind of stay firm and resolute when I have so many temptations, I'll remind myself this is antibiotics, and I would go a long ways to avoid taking a course of doxycycline. And that's the same thing when somebody's offering you a nice, cute little muffin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have no desire anymore for anything with grains or sugar. It's really interesting because I it just was removed from me, and I'm placed in a position where it's neutral. I don't have any craving for it, but I used to crave sugar for sure, and a little bit sometimes grains, and it's gone. It's gone. Part of it is I love eating healthy. I love eating food that nourishes my body. I love eating food that makes me feel really good. I love food that's good for my microbiome. That stuff I said to myself over and over again because I didn't even know how to eat. I was just like, I love eating in the way that nourishes my body the best. And then the sugar fell away, and then the grains fell away. The sugar fell away actually because I started perceiving everybody as so sweet because I'm in this state of love, and so everybody was like so sweet that sugar became too heavy compared to that sweetness. But if you kind of shift your mindset about it and you do that discipline for eating healthy, at least in my experience, it's just gone. And with some of my clients who have done it, have done that because they want that, it's just the desire's gone. So when I'm at a party and everybody's eating crap food that I know is going to give them diabetes and other things, I don't, whatever. Anyway, so when I'm doing that, I'm just thinking, I'm so fortunate that I don't want that. I'm so fortunate that I know how to eat. I'm so fortunate that my body gets the food that nourishes it. My body is so fortunate that I'm here with it. My body and I are so lucky. I just say something like that. I don't have any desire. And so I watch the people and I watch them then they eat the pie and then they're like, yeah, I think it's time to go home. Because they're tired and I'm like still vibrant and I have all my energy because that stuff makes you tired. And it's just a great feedback system our bodies have.
It really does. It really does. Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining me today. It's such a good reminder to stay on track, stay focused, and yeah, make the good things happen. Do you have any parting words you'd like to share with the beautiful souls listening about how we can overcome all the challenges we face?
Well, I'd be happy if any of you like to read, or you could listen to one of us as an audiobook. I've written 3 books. The link to the books is Chronic, like CHRONIC, Pleasure, PLEASURE, book, singular, even though there's 3 books, chronicpleasurebook.com, and you can download my books for free. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I hope you um, thrive and prosper in every way.
Likewise, thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Mahalo.